Yeah,
One
of
thing
course.
that I wanted to focus on, I was going to say, I consider Dravers not to be an oppressed minority in this. I mean,
Okay.
they are
Okay.
they're first of all, that glassmithing stuff is just too cool, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
just, it's clearly, a valuable thing. And since once this kind of genetic crisscross has occurred, Draverness apparently, persists and spreads, and it's not really, I mean, a lot of people are going to have Dravers in their family groups.
Yeah, I think we
So
are. So
ultimately, I mean, in other words, it's not isolated enough mating wise to treat as a distinct minority, if that makes any
yeah,
sense.
that's what led me to make it my thing. I mean, it's
Right,
I don't think it's society is giving me this problem. It's me that
right,
I have this thing. I have to find out, and that's
right.
why biology, why all that stuff. I want the history. I want to find out where I come from.
Sure.
I mean, I know
Now,
the human part. I've lived with human.
right.
I want to find it.
That's interesting. I like that. In the case of the history of the area, I talked about this a little bit at the channel, but what I thought about, I was looking in the book and saw that there were civilized humans and barbaric humans,
Hmm?
and I was thinking that if we had kind of, I wanted contrast in our game, right? So the notion that there's a history in this area that the barbaric humans and the dusters didn't get along very well, and that was the society here for who knows how long, right? Was the sort of almost defined by the clashes. Um, the dusters probably have a long oral history of the different chieftains and the different battles and stuff like that. Whereas the civilized humans, coming in on their barges, and in many ways, they probably just went through this area only if they had to for some reason. We don't know where the river goes. I don't care. I like the idea that this is all very far away, but the point is that now they are settling in this area. Now, probably it's not considered like truly part of the empire, but people from there, are settling here. And one of the only reason I can think of is that the glassmithing, in particular, has begun an interest for people to come here and live here, and then also once there, then other things of value or other things or reasons to live here were discovered. Um, And what's interesting, of course, is that since the civilized humans do not go and ride giant lizards and run around on the plains, eating the same things the dusters eat, no, it's not like the tribal dusters really had a problem. Even the dusters living in that area, had like much of a problem with these people. And so the relationships are generally friendly. I'm sure it's fragile and that we have at least a couple of notable disasters, right, in between
Hmm.
the interactions, but it's not the default. So so I kind of like and it's been a couple of centuries that this has been going on. From a human standpoint, it's a done deal. From the duster standpoint, like the really old dusters and the elders of the tribes and stuff, it's still early days,
Mm.
right?
Uh-huh.
Right. They take a very long view. They take a millennial, millenniums view of generations. So you go 1,000 years and you've still got like four great grandparents to present day. That's 1,000 years for a duster, right? So and I like that. I mean, the gazing out over the desert, they see it differently than you and I see it. Um, so the so that's kind of with that happening, it seems as though there's lots and lots of ways for um, for any combination of characters. I'm not really interested in designating the
Hmm.
three of you as an adventuring party, from the start, but I do think that we need to put ourselves into pretty much the same place And this is something to think about. We have two very tribal dusters. Now, does either of you want to be in a duster group or clan or whatever that's pretty close to the river and interacts with humans fairly commonly? That's where you're at, Helma, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's the idea.
Yeah. And
So she at least talks a little bit of common.
right. I
And
get that.
I might well try to up in that a little bit.
And so then Sam, now remember, there's no like wrong answer. The connections can be there quite easily. But so if you want to be from a far outlying tribe, or do you want to be close to the river too? Because everything you said seemed really out there to me. Maybe I was misreading.
Yeah, I was picturing that she's from a farther away area where like she wouldn't have as much time to learn. Like the other two characters seem to have more like I don't know, just more time to like do things in their free time. I don't know how to say this right.
Uh-huh.
But I'm picturing her as someone who had to spend like almost all of her time like learning and doing practical things to survive. So I think it would make sense if she was
Okay.
farther out.
That sounds fine. And the interesting thing that I wanted to say too, you don't have to come up with something, and I'm kind of allergic to overdeveloping this kind of thing, but both Lorenzo and Lorenzo and Helma, right? This is going to be happening. Lorenzo and Helma have both come up with at least sort of a fortune cookie statement about their characters' interests, right? We've got one character who is tapped as a shaman, has clearly committed. I mean, she's tattooed, like it's a spirit tattoo onto her heart. It's not like she's not doing her job. But on the other hand, she's still kind of newish at it and, has other priorities. Lorenzo, too, has a trade and a skill, a very valuable skill, but has other priorities. This guy's looking out over the hills. He doesn't want to live in this town the rest of his life.
Right.
And I think the entire genealogy tree thing makes a lot of sense for me. I'm going to be...
Yeah, you're interested in walking up the line a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, so Sam, what then does your character have any kind of equivalent if you want? Again, you don't have to overdo it. You don't have to say, and then my family was killed, and then I traveled here, and I was a slave for 10 years, and I'm in love I'm in love with this person, and I hate that person, and this person's out to kill me, and that kind of thing is great in a lot of games. I can think of a few games where it's critical. But here I'm just kind of going for the fortune cookie, when your character looks up, what do they want?
That the simple way I can see her like I don't know, having like a path out of just living this life of sustaining herself inside of this small community is that she is maybe interested in like going to a place where she can have more time to work with her hands rather than having to like kill, basically like spend a lot of time killing things and stuff like that. So I think she is more interested maybe in like using crafts, and also she knows like first aid and is pretty good at cooking.
Right.
So I think that's also something that she's interested in.
So it's sort of looking to settle down a little, looking to get a little more stable sort of thing? Is that,
looking to integrate into a place where there are humans and where there's like more commerce so that she could sustain herself with like instead of killing things, hunting, putting her life in danger.
Right. Okay, so there's an interest in humans there. Okay, I got you. Yeah, excellent. So with that in mind, let's take a look at, just so we're prepared, because I've got some notions about what to do play-wise. I'm not ready to play tonight.
I have just one small question, if I can.
Yeah.
And it's regarding, we discussed the landscape and we have pictures, but I wanted to understand, not from the text, but what you have in mind. When we say we are in a desert area, it's something like, fantasy planet Earth, or it could be something like John Carter from Mars. I mean, it could be anything. I mean,
that's a
what
really
kind of plants,
good question.
animal?
I mean, one is tempted to get just a little bit weird.
Hmm.
I'm tempted to get just a little bit weird and say that there. I mean, do we want to say that there is a second sun that's small and green? Do we want
Yeah.
to sort of leave it open for strange rivers of black sand that actually operate as rivers
Hmm.
made of sand, right? Do we want to open it up for that sort of stuff or imagery? I don't want to go too far with it because then we start moving into sort of this science fiction kind of thing. And also I want the dusters to be weird. I want the dusters to be, I mean, if they're just one of 500 weird things, I mean, I want you guys to be striking. So maybe I want to keep that to a minimum, maybe just enough for us to know that we're playing fantasy, but not enough to say, well, okay, well, they can turn into snakes. Well, these guys over here, they'll turn into butterflies. No problem. I mean, anything can happen, right? I want to kind of stay away from that. I mean, your abilities should be striking, magical, and powerful, right?
Okay.
So
Perfect.
So I haven't given you a straight answer, but that's where I'm.
No, but I think you gave me the answer I wanted to. I mean, it's.
So
we are not looking around for all kind of weird things and walking mushrooms and stuff like that.
Right, right. I mean, and I love all that stuff, but there's that really nice, solid feel that the rules have, that the characters, wear real clothes and they walk, they travel across real terrain and they drink real water and they get up in the morning and go to bed at night. That sort of feeling of solidity, that you have a useful skill. You have a skill that other people value. If you know how to work leather, it's because people work leather, right? So, yeah, what's that, Helma?
Just an idea I had was that basically the things that could be weird are more the landscape,
right,
than other, or than generally. I don't even think of changing into a snake is weird, but I mean everything else is basically normal.
Right. I think I'm going to stick with more normality than otherwise. And so if I come up with a distinctive exception just so that we can, say something about how this isn't Earth or something or whatever, then I will. The other thing that I wanted to do was to look at some of the numbers that we're going to be using a lot. And clearly attack rating and defense rating are enormous. And I want to make sure, for purposes of tonight, that we review some of the mechanics we'll be using. One of them, and probably one of the most important mechanics in any role-playing game, however it's done, is ordering who goes when. And in this game, it's a curious mix. You've got your base speed or initiative, which is actually a die roll. And the smaller the die, the faster you are. So that's actually there. And then you're going to have a modifier based on your weapon skill. I was reading this today and I realized that we needed to talk it out. When you're looking at the character and there's some kind of hostility going on, you need to know your attack rating, you need to know your damage rating. And then you have your base initiative comes from what you roll. So it's, you look at your dexterity and it gives you a die or 2 dice or something that you roll. So there's that. And then you have to add the weapons adjustment to that. There are weapons, so whatever you roll, the weapon adjusts that. And then it just, so does anybody have more than one attacker? Is anyone fast enough for more than one attack in the round? Do you know?
Not me.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Excellent, because that complicates everything.
I don't think anybody can, because you need to be over-initiated, I think, to have more level.
Okay, good enough.
We will have after the first level up, basically.
Right. And so then, and all the spells and miracles and stuff, they all have their initiative adjustment too.